Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I remember how to make a podcast.
Oh, do you though?
Yeah, despite all the evidence to the contrary before we actually pressed record, I know what I'm doing. I am a podcasting professional.
Sometimes I really wish we were recording everything that was on the mics before we actually turned the mics on.
That's where the gold is. That's really the best part of this show, but nobody else gets to hear it.
I feel like it's just a never-ending cycle, because if we started recording earlier, then we miss all the stuff that happens before we hit record on that section.
Yep.
So we have to do an even colder cold open. Somebody would have to start recording it without our knowledge. And I don't know. Anyway, I'm DJ Ross. I'm in Mountain View, California.
Hi, DJ Ross. On
Hello.
every episode of Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, that list includes Angeline Era and Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Plus, DJ and I played Slay the Spire. Together.
We did.
Yeah.
I feel like it worked out so much better than that other game we played together.
That is true. Yep. Yeah, I have no notes. I think the Slay the Spire thing was an arousing success, and that other thing we played was not.
Oh, terrific. I mean,
Yep.
not terrific that the other thing was not a success, but that you enjoyed sort of being my Slay the Spire co-pilot. I wasn't quite sure how you feel with that arrangement, but I felt like we did pretty well. We cleared the first act, without too much difficulty.
Yeah.
Learned a bit about how to play that Watcher character. Man, since then, I've been continuing to just play Slay the Spire, but been playing a lot more of the Watcher, and I feel like I'm starting to get it, or at least some of it. I'm in a better place than I was like a week ago when we streamed it, and I'll just say that.
That was your first time playing as the Watcher, you said?
It wasn't my very first, but
okay.
Maybe like third or fourth.
So it's not a character you've used often.
No, I'm much more of a silent main, the poison knives and kind of subterfuge character.
I think that was my main before. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, yeah. It's certainly the character I've played the least because it was the most recent one added, although recent in this case is like 4 years ago. I've come around on it. But yeah, that was fun. It was the first time I've played Slay the Spire in a very long time, and it kind of like reminded me just how much I loved it. And I've been playing it for a week and a half since you and I played it together. So
right, excellent.
I reinstalled it on my Switch and have gone back to it pretty hard.
Yeah. Are you playing sticking to the Watcher still?
Well, I've been doing the dailies when I get a chance to pick it up. Which is just like a random kind of roll of circumstances and weird artifacts and things like that you get. So it definitely presents a whole new sort of and somewhat confusing way of approaching it. But it breaks the game a little bit sometimes, but it can be very fun to do that, to sort of stress test Slay the Spire and see how much you can kind of futz with the formula.
I still have not really dabbled too much with the daily climbs, just because I feel like it takes me a very long time to complete a Slay the Spire run, or at least, get to the point where I get eliminated in my run. So I feel like I would start one daily and, I'd put it down and I would forget to finish it. And then suddenly there's another daily available and I just fall behind.
I've had that experience. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I finish one daily and it you finish it past midnight. It doesn't kick you out of the game or anything like that. You get to still continue playing it. But when I complete it, I'll go back to the menu and then the new day is available. I'm like, are we doing this? Are we staying up? Let's do this.
Yep. Gotta do it.
But yeah, it was good. I hope it was entertaining for the folks that tuned in. We certainly appreciate everybody kind of hanging out with us and indulging us as we sort of spoke aloud our thoughts about what cards we should play and how we should build our deck together and tackle some of those enemies. So it was fun. I think it was a good time.
Yeah. It's funny though, because it's not really like a co-op game, but I feel like it does really lend itself to sort of just a group discussion about what's happening or like what you should be doing.
Yeah. Are you that sort of thoughtful and methodical about the way that you build your deck when you play alone, or were we being a little overly indulgent together?
It was definitely slower. The way we were playing on the stream was slower because I generally, is just sort of like vocalizing everything, like my whole thought process. But in general, I do sort of play like that. Although I like sometimes, like I was making more of a point to explain why I was picking certain cards. And if I was just playing by myself, I wouldn't really feel the need to do that. I would just be like, oh, I like this card, so I'm going to pick this one. But so I was just trying to explain to you why I was making all these crazy decisions. And maybe if there was something that was completely outlandish, you would be like, oh, no, this is why you should not do that. But that it came up surprisingly, or like there weren't too many instances of that, which made me feel much better about how I was building the deck.
Yeah, I think we did okay. Yeah, at no point did it come to blows or anything like that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, definitely much more, from my perspective, a lot more kind of thoughtful about gameplay. Because I've been playing on the Switch since launch, more or less, and I've kind of got all the button presses. You were using a mouse, which I don't think I've ever played Slay the Spire with a mouse before. So, like, muscle memory kicks in when I get the Switch in my hand, and I know exactly like how to use the shoulder buttons to go through my deck and pick my cards. And
oh man,
yeah, I would not have that if I had different interface, and which is what makes me maybe a little bit nervous about having it on my phone. Plus, just having Slay the Spire all the time with me would be very dangerous, I think. But
oh yeah, no, it's pretty bad. Very, you think about that decision before you put it on your phone because your life will be different.
But it was good. That was good. I found myself wondering if there were other like non-co-op games that you and I could kind of like co-op essentially. And then I was wondering, are there actually any sort of like 2 or more player competitive deck building games? There's got to be some way to do that, right? But I could not find a ton of results. So
wasn't that just like Magic the Gathering?
Yeah, I suppose that's the way to approach it, right?
Or like Hearthstone. I don't know if people play Hearthstone against other people. Like they're all Hearthstone tournaments, right? So that must happen. I just never actually played it myself.
Yeah.
But it's a good question about other sort of like improvised co-op games. I'll have to think about that one. Like the first thing that came to mind would be something like XCOM or what was that? Like Into the Breach, the sort of tactics game from the FTL guys. Which that's a game I would definitely need a co-pilot for because I am awful at that game.
We could play Inscription together. I'm pretty good at Inscription, but I do find myself wondering if I'm doing it right sometimes. And that might be a good spooky season co-op game.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll put it on the list. I'm slowly building out my not schedule, my just sort of like list of games for spooky season this year. So I'll add that to it. It's looking like a good list so far.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah, not right around the corner. I mean. It could be closer. We could be done with this whole summer business. That would be nice.
It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yep. The Spirit Halloween stores are already popping up.
They never go away, or they barely go away in the first place.
Cool. But yeah, that was a good call. I hope folks enjoyed. We are going to align on our next stream for Monday, June 24th. And that will be Legend of Zelda 4 Swords.
Oh. Another single-player game. Wait, what?
No. That is competitive, right? That's a 4-player. That's a 4-player. Well, there it is right in the title, 4 Swords.
Yeah. It's just one Link, but he has 4 swords.
Right. Just somehow controls all of them at the same time. It's like QWOP.
Yeah, yes. That would be incredible.
Yeah. But yeah, DJ and I will be teaming up. Maybe find 2 more swords to join our party, and we'll be playing. This like 24-year-old GBA competitive Legend of Zelda thing. Yeah,
this is not the GameCube version of this, as we discovered before. Well, I mean, we sort of understood what was going on, but it turns out there are a bunch of versions of this game. But this is the original version from the Game Boy Advance version of A Link to the Past, which just released on the Nintendo Switch app.
Yeah.
Narrowly beating out Perfect Dark for the next stream. So, sorry.
Which may still happen at some point, but yeah.
It'll probably happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to probably play that after we finish the recording right this evening.
So, yeah, this is a game I've never played before, so it'll be fun to check it out. There are not a lot of holes in my Zelda history. This is definitely one of them. Yeah, interested in playing that with you. And we'll be streaming that live Monday night, June 24th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. As usual, head over to twitch.tv/VGHangover to watch us do the thing.
Yeah, should be good. I never played this either, so I have no idea what to expect. And I've also never played anything multiplayer on the Switch Online app, so that is just a whole other, like, potentially terrifying element. Like, who knows how that's going to work?
Yeah. Yep. That should be interesting. We might want to test that in advance.
No, let's just jump right into it. It'll be fine.
Screw it, we'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Yeah. If everything just catches on fire, I've got Slay the Spire on the Switch, so we have a backup ready to go.
There we go. To pull the emergency Slay the Spire cord halfway through.
In case of network difficulties.
Please stand by.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that'll be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Same. Happy Nintendo Direct Day to you. Happy not E3.
Yes. We're done with the whole fake E3 thing at this point. Yeah. I think
and what a fake E3 it has been. I feel like there has been a fair amount of kind of interesting, semi-interesting gaming headlines over the last couple of weeks as people try to fill the void left by E3.
I feel like, man, if this had been E3, people would be real disappointed.
Yeah?
Yeah, right? I mean,
I feel like people are sort of like, have been historically disappointed by E3 anyway.
Oh, that's why people look forward to it every year, right? They're just like, I can't wait to see all the disappointing stuff they're going to show us this year.
Or there's just sort of that like denial where it's like, maybe this will be the good one. Maybe this is the year they bring it back.
I feel like people just like getting excited about stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But then when they actually see the stuff, they're like, oh, it wasn't so good.
That's not the thing I was excited about.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like it was, I mean, I wasn't blown away by anything, I don't think. I mean, there was some crazy stuff in the Nintendo thing. But, like, the Microsoft thing was questionable. I also didn't watch any of these live, so that is sort of my excitement level for these things at this point.
I'll watch it later.
Just like, I'll just wait till it's done and then watch the trailers that people say were good, or the ones that people are talking about. And I won't have to watch, like, 20 minutes of the new God of War or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
But still, it seemed a bit underwhelming. I forget what the big news out of the Sony thing was, but Microsoft was like, not a lot going on. Was there anything out of the Sony thing? What was the big Sony announcement?
What was the big Sony announcement?
PlayStation 6.
New Astro's Playroom.
No, that can't be it. Was that really, like, that's all they've got is just Astro?
Horizon with Legos on the Switch.
Yeah, well, on the Switch is unusual.
It's a little odd, yeah. I don't know. There was like, I feel like there were a lot of games in the Sony thing that all kind of looked vaguely the same. They were like, is this anime? Is this AI? I can't quite tell. Everything's a little off. Yeah, and they had names that I don't remember. Okay, well, there you go. Now I feel bad because I feel like there was one interesting announcement out of that Sony thing, but maybe not. We could roll back in our Discord and find out. I'm sure it probably got a headline at some point, but I don't like. I liked the original format of E3 where you had like 2 or 3 days beginning of the week in June, and like everything was sort of condensed. There was a schedule to it. You knew exactly when it was, like the E3 press conference for Microsoft is at this time on Monday, and this time on Tuesday will be the Nintendo Direct, and et cetera, et cetera. So like by Wednesday, like you'd gotten more or less all of the headlines. Yeah. And now it's just sort of a surprise when things happen. It's just sort of all over the place. Like I would get home from work, and at the end of the day, I would open up Twitter or our Discord, and then be like, oh, there was this, 2-hour press conference today, and they announced this game and this game. And I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. It's like, oh, Nintendo just did their E3 thing while I was driving home. Okay, great. Right. Yeah, I mean, I used to use PTO for these things. I used to burn a vacation day to watch the Nintendo press conference, and today I was like in a meeting when I found out it was happening, and I'm like, oh, well, not this year. Well, I mean, you really couldn't miss those stage shows back then when they had Reggie and
Iwata and all those guys up doing weird stuff with the Muppets and that stuff.
When they were doing the actual, like, in a theater somewhere in LA presentation rather than the canned video feature they do now. I think everybody got burned by, like, the Wii Music thing. Yes. It was just a complete shit show, and they're like, we're never doing a live thing ever again.
I'm sure there were discussions following that presentation. Yeah.
But yeah, so I sort of missed the density of it, and now it does feel a little random and like 100 things kind of thrown at the wall. But I also like that, it allows Devolver does their fun little weird thing, and Wholesome Games has their fun little weird thing, and I think it does allow a little more kind of curation and bucketing of things that might be interesting. Like, the Wholesome Games one, I sat with my phone in my hand, and I was like, I would play that, and I put it in my phone. I would play that, and I pre-ordered it on Steam. So it was just sort of easy to kind of, if you knew where to look, find the things that you wanted to be interested or excited about.
What was the best thing out of the Wholesome Direct?
There was a game where you were a farmer.
What was there in the Wholesome Direct? I can't believe it.
Let me look. Let me find my phone. What were the things that I bookmarked during the Wholesome Direct?
That Hello Kitty game looked kind of good.
Yes. Yeah. That's still like a year away, though. That's
I know.
Yeah.
Surprising number of coming 2025 in cards on the trailers this year. Or maybe not surprising. I don't know how long it takes to make a game.
Oh, Crypt Custodian is one of the ones I'm kind of watching that came up.
I missed that one.
You missed that? You're a cat. And it's like a Zelda thing. And you have a broom. And I guess you sort of like clean up dungeons after adventurers go through, but you get into some of your own little adventures yourself.
Maybe I did. Maybe I actually saw that. That sounds familiar suddenly.
It looks very charming. Dungeons of Hinterberg. That's another like semi-cozy life sim that has like a Zelda adventure vibe to it as well. That's relatively soon that comes out. What else? I could check my Steam wish list to see what else I wish listed, but
just see what happened. That wish listing bender.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure what my point is, but it does feel a little disjointed. But I have found a little bit of gold that has popped out of these things. I was excited about, and I know that you don't see it the same way. They showed off the new Perfect Dark, which has been dormant for years. I think most of us kind of thought either had disappeared or was deeply in trouble. And I
honestly, like with all the studio closures lately, I just assumed they canceled it secretly.
Yeah. And it's been wild over at Microsoft Studios. There's been, if anybody has, taken the hammer to their portfolio of studios, it has more or less been, and it's unfortunate. I don't mean to sort of make light of it or laugh about it, but it's been wild over at Microsoft lately. I don't know who's still open or making games anymore these days. But
I was going to say, and again, not to make light of the terrible situation facing all these developers, but if I were working on Perfect Dark, I would maybe keep the development of that game going as long as I possibly could, if you know what I mean.
Sure. Yeah. As soon as that goes gold, you might want to have your resume ready.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it looked cool. I thought they really kind of appeared from the footage they showed to do something relatively unexpected, I think, with Perfect Dark, which was more or less kind of turn it into an espionage, improvised Deus Ex kind of vibe.
Yeah. That was the biggest surprise to me. I was like, oh, so it's like it's an immersive sim now. I guess that sort of fits with the universe from the first couple of games. So that was interesting. The rest of the trailer, it did not really feel like Perfect Dark to me, which is like, okay. I mean, it's cool if they're making another thing that turns out to be good, but if you say they're making another Perfect Dark, that's I sort of expect like all the goofy weapons, sort of like running around an arena shooting people, but that's a game from a different era at this point.
Yeah, you and I did say that when discussing it afterwards. It's like it does need some of the Perfect Dark kind of silliness. You need the alien artifacts and the briefcase gun or the laptop gun. Isn't that what it was? And, and Elvis the alien giving you life advice and stuff like that. So I don't know if that is also packed into the new Perfect Dark or if they've just abandoned anything that made it sort of remotely silly and goofy.
I feel like that's not really like, how often are games silly these days? Unless it's just like overtly silly. But like
Yeah.
Perfect Dark was a weird mix of like, oh, it's like James Bond, but also there's a gray alien that sounds sort of like Yoda or something. That was very weird.
Mm.
And, don't get me wrong, I would be thrilled if they just have that exact same aesthetic in the new version. It's like, oh yeah, it's Elvis again. But I didn't get the sense that that was the direction they were going with that trailer.
No, I did not feel like that at all with that.
Was there any of the weirdness like that in Perfect Dark Zero? I could not play more than a couple hours of that game. So maybe all the stuff was like way backloaded, but that also seemed like, 2005 era, just edgy Xbox game.
Yeah. I don't know. That might be interesting to go back and revisit that because I probably have not played that since 2005.
Oh, don't make me put that in the backlog attack.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much of that stuff made it into the new game. Well, I guess it's not the new game, but the most recent Perfect Dark game, which is now 20 years old.
Oh, gross. Yeah, you're right. Oh, that's horrible.
So yeah, I don't know. I like, to your point, being excited about things, and I think there were a couple of things over the last couple of weeks that I was sort of like, oh, I would play that.
Yeah, I know there was definitely some good stuff. It's just like, I don't know, maybe there'll just never be an E3 season that lives up to that one where it was like, the big three? It was like Final Fantasy VII Remake, the not Shadow of the Colossus, The Last Guardian, and like Shenmue 3, I think. And people just lost their minds, and ever since then it's just been like, here's a new Gears of War game.
Yeah, that has been kind of a fun discovery for me over the last couple of weeks. Is the memories thing on Facebook is showing me all of the old posts from every E3 season that has gone past, and it was like 12 years ago you posted this, and it's me sort of complaining about the Pokemon trailer being too long, or the Madden
that's a Pokemon thing, I don't think.
Gameplay footage being too long, or what was the other thing? Oh, that everybody at Nintendo seemed to have the same haircut.
I don't remember that year. What was the haircut?
They all had like, $6,000 suits on and a $12 haircut. Yeah. I was very funny on the internet 15 years ago.
Oh, no doubt, I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, so that has been fun to sort of like roll back through some of those things and go, I can't wait to play Uncharted 2 and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, well, we don't get those anymore.
Surely they're making a new Uncharted game. No, I don't know.
Probably in secret somewhere. Or they're just going to churn out more mediocre Uncharted movies.
We can only hope.
Timothy
Chalamet needs work.
No, it's the other one. It's not Timothy Chalamet.
No, I'm pretty sure it's him.
Are you sure?
He uses a different name for the Uncharted games or movies
or
whatever. Same guy.
Maybe we'll get one where Dune and Uncharted crossover.
Yes. Oh, man. He's already in a desert in that one movie, so he's probably ran into him.
Nathan Drake with his Shema around his head going through the sand and possibly dying when the giant sandworm comes up and he... Yep.
And it
strikes
turns out
itself.
They'll just, the worm was all... There's a perfectly rational scientific explanation behind the giant sandworms.
Right,
yes. How those games always tend to go.
Yeah, because every seemingly supernatural thing in Uncharted has to be eventually explained as some mundane thing.
Yeah.
Yep. And meanwhile, Lara Croft's all, dinosaurs? Sure, I'll fight dinosaurs.
What happened to... what happened to Lara Croft? She's been sort of in hibernation as well. Oh, man, you know what looked surprisingly good? Was the new Assassin's Creed. Did you see that trailer?
I did not. Nope.
Oh.
As a rule, in general, I don't watch Assassin's Creed.
Not the worst rule. But it's the one that's set in Japan. And there are two characters that you play as. One is like this huge samurai who doesn't even use a sword most of the time. He just has a huge metal spiked bat. Which was like, don't know if I'm into that. But then they showed... the other characters...
Can I just observe that doesn't seem very discreet if you're trying to be an assassin?
No. Yeah, so I was like, okay, I don't really get it. But then the other character is just a straight up ninja. And it just looks like it turns into Splinter Cell at that point. Because you're just hiding in shadows and marking people for assassination. And I was like, oh, I haven't played this game in a while. This looks like it might actually be good.
Okay.
So that was kind of one of the low-key highlights for me. And I'm sort of in the same camp where I'm just like, thought I was over Assassin's Creed. But this one I was like, oh yeah, maybe I would like to play one of these where you are a ninja. I mean, you kind of are in the first, like the earlier ones, but now you are an actual ninja, so that's very exciting.
I feel like we have wanted this series to go to Japan forever.
I think so, yeah. I think that has been a common sort of request. But now that they have done Egypt and ancient Greece and just like a Viking one, they can finally do a Japanese one, so that's cool.
Cool. No, yeah. Anything sort of Assassin's Creed is usually a resounding meh from me, but I'll on your recommendation, I will watch that and report back.
Yeah, okay. It did have that, just unmistakable sort of Ubisoft flavor to it, which I wasn't thrilled about. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, I kind of do want to assassinate some people. So I might end up checking that out. That would be the first Assassin's Creed I played in quite a while.
Same. Cool. Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft sort of remarkably restrained. No sort of Ubisoft weirdness. We did get a Let's Dance trailer, but...
well, you gotta have one of those.
Yeah. I think Let's Dance keeps the lights on over at Ubisoft these days. Yeah, I feel like they were a little under the radar. Generally, those are very long, awkward press conferences. And other than the Assassin's Creed stuff, I've not really heard a ton coming out of there this year. So who knows what they're working on.
Maybe they've also learned their lesson. No more weird stage shows.
Well, let's get some more Watch Dogs games that nobody plays.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyways, E3.
E3, hooray!
Yeah. What have you been playing that is not E3?
Do you realize that we are 1 week away, when the show comes out, from the new Final Fantasy XIV expansion?
I'm not. No, I didn't have that on my calendar. I'm sorry.
It's not on your calendar?
No.
Well, that means you're behind. I mean, you got to do all your preparation and everything.
You've been prepping for months, I'm aware, yeah. So, I didn't realize it was that soon. How exciting for you. Why are you here right now? Should you not be standing in line somewhere? Or?
No, that's fine. I got the whole thing pre-ordered. It's just going to, activate as soon as early access starts, so it's fine. You don't need to go to a store or anything.
You don't have to go to, like, Funko Land at midnight.
No. It's like, all right, it's midnight. Everybody go back home and log in your game.
Right, yes. Yeah, we'll go hang out at the mall or at Best Buy in a parking lot and then go home at, like, 11:55.
Yeah, just the most poorly conceived midnight launch of all time. I feel like, a lot of people do a lot of really outlandish prep for an expansion launch, but I'm kind of like, it'll be fine, guys. Don't worry about it. And I just kind of don't do any of that. But I did finally pull the trigger on a new computer.
Wow.
Which is, it's been a while since I got one of these things. So it's at the computer store currently. They're putting it together, is what I'm told.
Oh.
Because if I learned one thing from building computers in the past, it's that you should never build a computer. Or more specifically, that I should never build one.
That you should make somebody else do it, right?
So, yeah, this time I've opted to leave it to the professionals. Because, that just makes so much sense when you think about it that way. Like, why would I decide I should be the one building a computer? Like, I wouldn't build a car for myself and then drive that around. So
and then be surprised when it doesn't go well.
Yes. It's like, why is this car broken?
Why do I have extra parts? Yeah.
Yeah. So, very excited about that. Because it's been a while. Like I said, but this computer, the one that we're actually recording the show on, has been showing its age lately. I think it knows that it's sort of its days are limited, so it's protesting a bit.
So do you my experience with computers in the past is generally you just go to a store and you buy it off a shelf. So what do you look for in a computer that you sort of like assemble from scratch and have somebody make for you?
I actually looked at a bunch of sort of pre-built options when I was browsing around, but ultimately I went to there's a site called PCPartPicker.com where you can just sort of search a bunch of part listings and assemble sort of your ideal rig, and it will warn you about if there are like compatibility issues and, maybe a certain part you bought doesn't fit in the case you had picked out. So I sort of use that as a starting point. And then just over the last few years, I've just been taking notes whenever I see somebody recommending like, oh, this graphics card works pretty well, or like, oh, this is a good CPU or whatever. I'll just be like, okay, got it. Good CPU. Remember that.
What's the serial number on that? Yeah.
Yeah. So then by the time I was finally ready to order it, I just went back to this exhaustive list of like weird letters and numbers because none of these parts have names that make any sense or help you make any decisions. And I just sort of like fed those into the PC part picker and compared it to a couple of the other like preset or like pre-built options I was looking at. And then once I finally had the list together, I just vetted it by sending it to some friends who are much more like technically savvy than I am. Technically savvy, one of those two.
Technically, they're quite savvy.
Technically, yes. And then I ended up with the configuration I ended up ordering, which, as one final check, as I was dropping it off at the store to have them build it, I was just like, does this all make sense? And they looked at it like, yeah, this should work. This should be fine. This will be a computer on the other end. So
I would like to speak with your smartest nerd, please.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that answers your question. Basically, I just sort of like crib from everybody else's research. But I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm excited. Hope it all comes together.
Cool. What a treat.
Yeah.
Did you go for the RGB lights and
you know what? I did a little bit.
Oh.
I mean, it's not going to look like Las Vegas or anything. But there's actually this really sort of like super classy looking PC case going around. It's it came out last year, I think. It's called the what is it called? North from Fractal Design. It's got sort of like a wood paneling front. I think it's actually real wood.
Oh.
Just looks like the antithesis of a gaming PC. Looks like something that is not horrible to have in your living room. And a bunch of my friends have that, and it looks very nice. And I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. Do I want like a respectable looking PC? No, I kind of want one with a weird light going down the front. So that's the one I ended up ordering. I was very sad though. The case I originally wanted looked like it was straight out of Tron. It was like glossy, sort of like frosted glass, and there was just like one very tasteful light going down the side. I was like, yeah, this looks like something like Tron would use. This is what Tron would play like League of Legends on or whatever. And it was out of stock, so I had to go with something maybe a notch down from, the full Tron level. But I'm still pretty happy with it. I'm not going to do like I said, it's not going to be a light show. I had to buy a new RAM at the computer store, and the guy helping me pick it out, he was like, "Oh, so do you want the RGB RAM?" And I was like, "No, I don't think I need the RAM to light up. I'm not going to be looking at it that much." So there are lights on the case, and I guess inside. But I think I'm going to keep it toned down a little bit. I mean, I don't generally have the case on display like as I'm streaming or anything, so it'll mostly just be me looking at it.
Well, cool. I mean, that was not the answer I was expecting, so good for you. Treat yourself, DJ.
So what were you expecting? You just like straight up no lights whatsoever?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, all black everything.
All black. Well, see, that's my current case, and maybe you're onto something because I rarely look at it, but who knows? We'll see. The last time I built a PC, the whole RGB thing hadn't really happened yet, so didn't even have that option. So that was also a part of it. I was just kind of like, maybe it's my turn to get some stupid RGB lights.
Why not me, DJ Ross? Why couldn't I possibly have RGB lights?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. That's exciting. What a treat.
Yeah. Anyway.
And also you can play the new Final Fantasy expansion.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that'll be the best part of it.
Cool.
Hopefully.
Does it run Microsoft Word?
I don't think I have Word installed. So.
Yeah. Well, good for you. I don't either. Yeah.
Probably could if I wanted to. But anyway, what else have we been playing?
Nice.
You want to talk about Paper Mario?
We could talk about Paper Mario, sure.
Want to talk about Slay the Spire some more?
I think we'd lose listeners.
Oh, I really love Slay the Spire.
Okay,
no, yeah. Paper Mario, though.
But Paper Mario, yeah. So the Paper Mario.
Are you excited about that new Mario and Luigi game?
Kinda. I don't think I've ever loved those, really.
What? Come on.
Yeah, they seem to be generally well regarded, and I've played quite a few of them. They all came out for the 3DS or DS at some point or another, right? And
I think so. Like they remade some of the older ones.
yeah, and I thought they were fine.
How is it that you don't like the Mario and Luigi games, but you are a diehard fan of Paper Mario, the world's most hated Mario games?
I'm a unique butterfly. I'm I'm a mystery wrapped in enigma. This is not the Paper Mario game that everybody hates. This is everybody's favorite.
No, everybody
Paper
loves
Mario
this
game.
one. This is the best Mario game.
This is the one that everybody was like, how come they don't make Paper Mario games like this Paper Mario game anymore?
Exactly. Oh, so has this caused you to see the errors of your ways?
No, not at all. Perhaps it was the children who were wrong.
What?
No, I don't quite understand it because so Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. This is also a 20-year-old game. I think this came out a very long time ago and has been updated for the Switch. There was not an easy way to play this for a long, long time, and I had played a ton of other Paper Mario games. I believe all of the other Paper Mario games, except for Thousand Year Door. So, was excited to finally get my hands on it because it is generally sort of regarded as the gold standard of Paper Mario. And yeah, so I'm left with the conclusion after playing quite a few hours of the remake of Thousand Year Door, when people say they should make more Paper Mario games like Thousand Year Door, what they really want is just a kind of a pretty generic turn-based RPG.
Oh, where is this going?
This is not a hot take. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a really good time with it. It is quite charming. The writing is spot on. So perhaps that is what they mean by make more games like Thousand Year Door, because it is by far the funniest Paper Mario game. The Paper Mario games in general are quite funny. There's some really good writing in there. They take some liberties with the characters. Usually it's Mario kind of palling around with enemies, with characters that would otherwise be enemies in other Mario games. So you get kind of personified characters that would generally be just kind of mindless, easy to bop on the head kind of drones in other games. In Thousand Year Door, Goombella is one of your original companions in the game, and it's she's a female Goomba, and she's a researcher and super smart, and nobody takes her seriously because she's a girl and things like that. And she pals around with Mario and is great, is super funny, and they has a ton of really good lines and some really smart writing, and is just very, very charming. And eventually you get a second companion, and you have the choice of like not focusing on her anymore and having another one, because you only have one of them kind of in your buddy slot at any time. And I genuinely missed having her around. So like all of that stuff works, and it still works in the modern version. But when you get into the combat scenarios, it's really like you take your turn, you whack the monster, he takes his turn, he whacks you, and it's just it is just the most sort of like predictable archetype of what an RPG should be. So yeah, it is a bit of a bummer that it doesn't feel like some revolutionary thing. I didn't play this and go, aha, this is what I've been missing. So yeah, I kind of felt like my mind was going to be blown. Hair was going to be blown back, like falling off the bed with enthusiasm for this thing. And I was just like, oh, people just don't want it to be weird. People don't want like, I guess, Mario games to like be experimental or to mess around with the formula too much.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because haven't a lot of the subsequent Paper Marios had some weird gimmick to them?
Yes, all of them have.
All of them. Yeah, okay, well, maybe, we might be onto something here.
Yeah, so I think, people have, I think, a perspective that they shouldn't monkey with the system too much. Like, they got it right with Thousand Year Door. Why would you change it? And it's changed for every iteration of Paper Mario that has come since. So yeah, if you hold that sacred and A Thousand Year Door is your sort of gold standard for what a Mario game should be like, if the subsequent games don't play like that, then sure, I guess you would be disappointed. But I've never been sort of precious about that. I like that it's experimental and it's a little different every time. The through line is still, a big epic adventure with a lot of funny characters and some really surprisingly surprisingly smart and insightful and kind of silly writing. That has been constant in all of the Paper Mario games, I think. But it's just this combat thing is the outlier, I think, in a lot of ways.
Maybe that's just what gamers want.
Yeah,
Gamers just want more of that thing. Like I'm still playing through Final Fantasy IX, and it is still just bland as hell. But people love it.
Yeah. I don't know. That's disappointing, though, right? Isn't that kind of like a bummer?
Yeah. I mean, something I really appreciate about Nintendo is that it feels like they refuse to just make the same thing a second time. They always have to put a weird twist on it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we end up with Mario Kart Double Dash, but then it's like, okay, well, at least they did that, and now we have that as a reference point.
Got that out of our system. Yeah, I like Double Dash, though.
I know people like Double Dash, so I don't understand. Like,
I would defend that.
Yeah. Although here's another thing: people really like Mario Kart 64, one of the worst Mario Karts.
Yeah, I don't think I can defend that one, but so yeah, there's some fun little bells and whistles to it. I'm being silly, obviously, about this a little, but yeah, it is. I mean, it is more or less that formula throughout. I like some of the presentation of it. Anytime you go into a battle in Thousand Year Door, Mario and your companion sort of run out onto stage, like a stage play, and your enemies sort of run out from the other side of the stage, and you fight in front of an audience. And if you're fighting especially good, they cheer you on. And if they sometimes like their cheers will be loud enough to like refill your health or top up your magic. So you kind of want that. So you want to put on a bit of a show. And it does have the Paper Mario thing where like as an enemy is attacking, if you push the button at exactly the right time, you can block and take off some of the damage they do. And as you're attacking, if you sort of time it just right with your hit, you can do a little more damage. And the audience responds really aggressively to that. You can have as little as like 2 or 3 people in the audience. And I think the biggest crowd you can get in Thousand Year Door is 200 people. So as you run in from the left side of the stage and your enemies run in from the right, the audience also sort of files in quickly at the bottom and fills all the seats, which is super fun to see every time. So there's a presentation to it. And if you're playing badly, if you're not getting the timing right, or if you're taking a lot of hits, the crowd will boo you, and they'll actually sort of like do damage. They'll throw things at you. They'll like throw fruits at you and stuff like that.
And you just start doing even worse.
Yeah, you can block it and deflect their energy, or there's actually an option to run into the audience and beat up the person who threw.
Wait, so how does that work?
Just push A, like as the attack is incoming, you push A. And either Mario or the companion will run off the stage, will jump off the side of the stage and go down and like bop the enemy on the head who threw the thing at you.
Oh. Seems like that would make them even angrier.
Yeah. People like a fight. Who knows? So like all of that stuff is kind of fun. And parts of the, even parts of the set will fall on you sometimes because all of like the backgrounds of the set are like cardboard cutouts of the real world set that you would otherwise be fighting on. And sometimes those will fall over and will actually fall on your enemies, or they'll fall on you too if you're fighting poorly. So again, cute little bells and whistles, but like the actual combat itself is, do you want to, if you're Mario, do you want to hit it with a hammer or do you want to jump on its head?
Okay.
And you get a few more and they do a little more damage, or sometimes you get a metal hammer and it does a lot of damage. You get a couple eventually as you level up, because it does have leveling, obviously, because it's the classic archetype of an RPG. You can do multiple enemies at once. You get other companions and they all have their own ability. Goomba will bop people on the head, but can also tell you like what their weaknesses are, and how you should attack them. You get a second enemy who is a Koopa, and he will turn into a shell that can slide along the ground, and he'll knock out a bunch of enemies if they're all lined up, which is super handy to have if like 5 enemies file in from the right side of the stage. So you kind of want to pick your right companion at the same time. And the cool thing about the way that you can play this one is there's just a wheel. You hold down the button, you pick which enemy and which companion you want to use, and you can swap them on the fly at any time.
Oh, interesting. Like during battle even?
Yes, I believe so. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, all of that stuff kind of works. It's just, it feels the actual act of like running up and whacking another Koopa with a hammer feels very predictable. And like it never really gets better or more interesting from there. You start off by doing 1 or 2 damage, and later on in the game you do 8 or 9 damage, and that's about the life cycle of it.
Why?
So I'm like,
isn't that every JRPG?
yeah, kinda. Yeah, I just wish there was more. I just wish it felt more interesting. I do find myself sometimes in, and here's the other part of this: is that clearly it sort of shows its origins as like a 20-year-old game. Is that there's tons of backtracking, like a lot of backtracking in a way that like I think modern like video game developers have been working very hard to avoid. That is not so much the case with 1,000 Year Doors. You will go back through a lot of the things that you have already walked through once, twice, 5 times before. And every enemy that you bopped and killed the first time is back. So I find as I'm sort of running back and forth through the places that I have run back and forth through over times, many times over, just sort of running around and trying to avoid the enemies. And then I'm not leveling up, so I'm not ready for the next fight. And then it's lather, rinse, repeat. I've sort of shot myself in the foot in this RPG.
Well, I mean, that also sounds like fairly standard for an RPG.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically how I play Dragon Quest. So, and I like those games. I like this game. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I just do too much of this kind of thing and need to take a break.
It's tough when you have a battle system that's just not really engaging. But a lot of the time I just feel like it means it's not difficult enough. Because like there was some comment in the Discord this week about was it Dragon Quest 11? And it was like, oh, is all you do? You just push A to attack. It's like more or less, but isn't that what you do in every RPG? But like the thing that makes Dragon Quest interesting to me is that you really have to like make decisions about what you're doing. I mean, up to a certain point, sure, you can just mash A, but then, you know, if you're just doing that, you're probably, or hopefully, if it's, you know, tuned correctly, it's not as effective as, you know, really mixing up your abilities and everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like Dragon Quest has been fairly good about that.
You're curating your party too, which I think between, if you think like Dragon Quest or Persona, like who are you fighting with? Who's on your team? How do their abilities and Persona particularly, how do your social links and relationship with that character enhance your ability to fight and make you stronger, et cetera, et cetera. And like there's really not an element of that in Paper Mario.
Okay, serious question.
Yeah.
Did social links make any difference in Persona? I was thinking that coming off of Persona 3 fairly recently. Because I put in a lot of effort and I always got the messages where it was like, your bond with this character is leveled up. This means your persona will be more powerful. Yeah. But I never got the sense that I was like, oh, thank God I have this specific persona, because it's so much stronger than, you know, this other one that does like 90% as much damage as the new upgraded one that I got.
Yeah. Persona 4 is the one I've played most recently, and I felt like it added value. Yeah, particularly when you're doing the persona fusing and stuff like that, you do get better outcomes. And if you have, you know, somebody on your team.
So if you really spend a lot of time fusing, sure.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. I've just been thinking a lot about Persona 3 as I've been going through Final Fantasy 9, because I'm just like, why aren't the battles in this better? And I feel like it fell into the same trap that a lot of RPGs were falling into around that time, where just every character is more or less the same. And maybe they have like a special limit break or something, or like, I don't even know how the characters in Persona 3 were different from each other. But they all just sort of blend together. So when you think of it that way, if you told me that upcoming Paper Mario games would have some weird gimmick layered on top of the battles, that might be like, I might see that as a positive. But I can also totally understand why some people would just want like the, you know, bog standard JRPG battle system. And then maybe what appeals to them is like everything else around it, like the storyline or the characters or something like that.
Yeah, and I do think that is like, that's the headline for the Paper Mario games, right? It is sort of a more relaxed Mario experience. You're not doing the kind of the platforming Mario stuff. You're still saving Princess Peach, of course, but yeah, you're going about it in a roundabout kind of way, and everything is like personified in a way that you generally don't get in the platformer version of Mario. These games can be very chatty, so it's a lot of dialogue, a lot of like centric characters, and they say funny things, and yeah, it's definitely sort of a more comedic and kind of better cast version of a Mario game. Yeah, I think from a developer standpoint, it's got to be very kind of liberating to like, take your standard Koopa, who is pretty like, he's a carbon copy of the 400 other Koopas you're going to stomp on today. But to like, what is his personality? What's his motivation? The one of your sidekicks in this is a Koopa, but he's had a lot of defeat. He's been stomped by Mario too many times in the past, and he's doubting himself now. So like, that's funny, right? I mean, there's definitely like humor to be milked from that. So if you have patience for it, there's definitely some fun little like, interactions and conversation you can have with that character in the game.
See, that's what I want out of a Final Fantasy game, or it doesn't even need to be Final Fantasy. I mean, it should be, because they haven't done this yet, but just like the weird sort of like meta-reflexive comedy game where you have, the one character who is having self-doubt or whatever, or just a party that is like, my dream Final Fantasy game is like, you're the B team where your party is just inept and like, you're not saving the world, you're just going on these like throwaway like fetch quests and everything. That would be amazing. But, maybe Paper Mario. Maybe that's what I should be playing. Maybe that's the comedy RPG that I want.
Yeah.
I felt like the Mario and Luigi games were very funny, but I don't remember them having, like, I don't know if it was like laugh out loud funny. I mean, the platform Mario games have basically no characterization or dialogue at all. So it was just kind of weird.
Right.
To be playing an RPG where suddenly like, oh yeah, this has a lot of dialogue for a Mario game, and it's actually pretty well written. I don't know what I was expecting.
Yeah. Well, and they don't break the expectation that I think most of us had up until the Mario Brothers movie, that Mario doesn't talk. So it's still Mario being the completely silent protagonist, with everybody being very chatty around him. And the writing challenge that includes, where you have a character, you have one of your two main characters who doesn't talk. So I think that's fun too. Yeah, it definitely sort of like the steps that they sort of take and fall over themselves to be able to sort of work around Mario not being able to respond. So you end up getting very kind of funny expressions or little wacky like gags and double takes and stuff like that he'll do. That again sort of feel kind of like on character for Mario, but you never really get in the platformer games.
Yeah.
So I don't dislike this. I'm excited and thrilled to be able to sort of finally play it in a way that's pretty easy to access. And to have it on my Switch feels like a boon. It's just, it has not like rocked my world in the way that I kind of thought it should after all of the fandom.
20 years of hype around this game.
Yeah, of people going, no, this is not the Paper Mario we want. We want the one that's just like 1,000 Year Door.
Yeah, what they really meant is they just wanted to play 1,000 Year Door again.
Probably, yeah.
And
the good news is
like,
that now that's a game that people can play pretty easily. So
yeah, no, that is a very good thing about this. I always just feel like when people say, "Oh, why isn't it like this one?" I'm just like, why don't you just go play that game? Because it still exists and you can do that.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
How do you feel about this one? Having played the N64 Paper Mario? Or like, what like, is this an upgrade from that?
Yes. Yeah, I just played that last year. Certainly quality of life. There's a lot of like modern improvements that are baked into this thing too, from save points and hint systems and things like that. But yeah, that definitely felt like a proof of concept. I think if you're going to do the first Mario game where you get to sort of be silly with Mario, it definitely felt like they were sort of trying to figure out what the tone and the vibe was going to be. This is the place where it feels like the developers kind of nailed that. I think so. Yeah, I do remember kind of feeling like that game was a little awkward and was still trying to find its identity sometimes. When this one feels a little more, a little better realized.
Yeah, that's sort of the same impression I got just from like what I've seen of it. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you play the Wii one, the Super Paper Mario?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
It's the one where he would like turn into a giant 8-bit sprite, and it was like sort of in 3D sometimes, and it was in 2D other times. It just looked very like out there compared to the other ones in the series.
That sounds familiar, but I'm not sure if it's just because I've seen the trailer or the footage of it, or if I've actually played it. Yeah, I know I've played the portable ones, the DS and the 3DS ones, and I've played everything from the Wii U up.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that one looks so out there that I was just like, that's the one I think I want to play, because this just looks so weird compared to the other ones. Like I played Super Mario RPG, that was fine. That might be part of the reason I wasn't like to just jump in on Thousand Year Door when it originally came out. But man, just see that weird giant Mario running around and stomping Goombas or whatever he's doing. I was just like, I want to see what's going on in that game. So I think that's actually on the short list for the backlog attack at some point.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
You figure out how long that is.
There was a brief period at Nintendo where they were looking for any reason to make Mario and Luigi just giant in every game.
Yes, like New Super Mario Brothers.
Right, yeah.
This was probably around that same time, so maybe we just, like, Miyamoto saw some movie where one of the characters got real big, and he was like, what if that was every Mario game from now on?
He came in from seeing Pacific Rim, and he was like, the next big thing is Kaiju.
Yeah. Well, they made that one, too. They made the Bowser's.
Yeah, Bowser. I love that game. That was great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would strongly recommend. Yeah. So I like this. I put quite a few hours into it. It is this weird kind of push-pull between kind of expectations and reality, unfortunately, and some of that might be self-inflicted, but yeah, I'm in general having a pretty good time with it, and we'll likely see it through to the big finish, the grand finale.
I feel like if they can go back to a game that's this old, I mean, it's like 20 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And have you play it and still just be like, yeah, it was good, I liked it, then that is a real testament to just like the quality of that game in the first place. I feel like there are very few games you go back and that would be true.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's impressive. I really wanted to, like, I wasn't sure if I was going to start this up day one, but I was thinking about it because I've also been sort of paying attention to everybody, like, oh, where's Thousand Year Door? When's that coming out? And then I heard it was just like 60 hours long. I was like, oh, no, like some other time. I think I can't squeeze it in this month. But I would really like to play this because people seem to love it. And I've not played a lot of Paper Mario games. I haven't played any Paper Mario games, in fact. Is that true? No, yeah, I think that's true. Played a lot of Mario and Luigi, but never a proper Paper Mario game.
Yeah. I'll have to, like, after finishing this, like, think through all the Paper Marios I've played and, like, make my, what does all the kids do on social media now? You have the S rank and the...
Oh, your Paper Mario tier list? Yeah.
There you go, the tier list. That's what it is. Yeah. I'd be curious to see where this lands once I get to the end.
What is S tier for you currently? Is that, what's the latest one that came out that people liked? The Origami
King?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I thought that was also quite charming. I liked the wacky battle system in that, where you had to like solve a maze puzzle to be able to get to the enemy at the center of the maze. I think a lot of folks kind of bounced off that mechanic, but I found it engaging. It was the previous one that I really liked was the Wii U one, was Color Splash, and I don't know where that sort of lands in the general pantheon of how Paper Mario games are regarded. I like that one. I remember being quite obsessed with it when it came out and playing a lot of it very quickly. And I thought it also did some fun kind of visual stuff between kind of black and white and 3D and 2D. And yeah, they were in their like Splatoon era. So it was a lot of like bright neon colors splashed all over the place. Mario had like a paint hammer and a paintbrush buddy and stuff like that. And it was just, it was super colorful and fun. And I remember having a really fun and like puzzles to it and like a metagame and stuff like that. And yeah, I thought that was a really, really good game. In general, I think probably that's the one I enjoyed the most.
Oh, interesting. Oh man, a Wii U game.
Yeah.
Oh man, does that mean I missed it now that they closed down the shop? Am I going to have to like pay $400 on eBay or something?
Or hope for the inevitable Switch port, because most
yes, just wait for the remake 15 years from now or
yeah
whatever.
Wii U games have eventually landed on the Switch at some point or another. So
that's true.
that would have to be one of the few that has not been updated yet.
All right, Switch 2 launch title. There it is.
So I don't want to take up all of our time talking about Paper Mario, particularly since I do want to come back to it after I finish it. What have you been playing before we wrap up this week?
I played a little Angeline Era. It was a demo that came out. I think I'll probably save it, though, since we're at about an hour. But just to give you the 30-second summary, it's, like I said, it's just a demo. I think the game, it's another 2025 release. But it's the 5th game from Analgesic Productions, who did the Anodyne games and Symphony and Even the Ocean. And I'm a huge fan. I like all those games quite a bit, and also I'm just a huge fan of the developers. They have a lot of really interesting ideas. They seem to be very thoughtful about how they design their games. So I would say check it out. It's like an action RPG with just interesting, weird stuff going on. But I'll talk more about it probably next episode, or maybe whenever it comes out in 2025. Maybe I'll just save it for the full game. But just a fun little demo. It's a few hours long.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about that. The the Steam Next Fest has been just a glut of video games to keep up with over the last couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. I think this was actually part of these
demos for games that don't come out anytime soon as well.
I forget if it was in Next Fest or there was like some other sort of like future game show that just had their thing as part of E3 season, but I thought it was hysterical because like a lot of analgesic games, it just looks like sort of a PS1 or like maybe Saturn 3D game. So to see it, like to see all these other trailers coming out that are like very shiny and, you know, modern day video gamey, and then have it jump to Angeline Era, we're just like, what is this? Like somebody like put a PlayStation 1 game in here. And I was just like, oh, I know what that is. I want to play that one. But just a funny sort of just disconnect in all those, like, what do they call them? The sizzle reels. It's like,
yes.
You're going to take 30 seconds to show off a PlayStation game. It'll be good. Yeah. I kind of feel bad for them because, you know, obviously it's like, I feel like not everybody would have the same positive reaction to a game that looks like this.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh no, all this other stuff has been really good. So I'm hoping that they got some attention out of showing up in that trailer.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think, not to sort of opine too long about this, but I think definitely the more I watch sort of like the Sony PlayStation thing, where it's a lot of sort of like bland, generic, super glossy HD graphics that say nothing to me, that mean nothing to me, like that don't evoke any kind of emotion in me other than, oh, this looks like a lot of other kind of modern PlayStation games, and I can't tell them apart at all. Yeah, I think I would rather have some janky looking PS1 era graphics, as long as it like is interesting in some way or has cool characters or tells an interesting story.
Yeah, you should check out some of their games. You check out Symphony. It was very interesting. I like that sort of PlayStation 32-bit era 3D aesthetic is coming back. It's like finally time. We did the 8-bit and 16-bit eras of retro games in indie games so far, and now everybody, like the PS1 level games are starting to pop up. Yeah. So
there's been a handful of that.
Now it's their time.
In horror recently, there have been a couple of games over the last year or so, I would say, that have been like, oh, this looks like, you know, an OG Resident Evil game, but has been kind of modernized, but still has kind of the same graphics and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of an interesting touch point. I don't know, maybe that's what I want from a horror game.
Yeah, I think I forget what game I played where I was just like, yeah, PlayStation 1 it's like the ideal horror aesthetic, because you can't really tell what anything is actually supposed to look like. And just like your imagination fills it in. But yeah, I was just like, no other game is scarier than that first Silent Hill game to me. And it's just like, you couldn't tell what anybody's face looked like. And now seeing that new Silent Hill 2 remake trailer, I'm like, I'm sure it'll still be scary, but it's just, it looks like a totally different experience.
complete flatline for me. Like I watched that trailer and I was like, cool, let's remake Silent Hill 2. That is, I think, kind of maybe a little underappreciated. And it's been a long time since there's been a good Silent Hill game. And yeah, I watched that trailer and like, I think my pulse did not race. Like my hairs on my arms did not stand up at all. There was no part of that I was sort of like, that looks amazing. I can't wait. It was just sort of like, oh, well, that's a thing that exists.
Well, I'll just, just remind people you can still play the original Silent Hill 2. It's still out there.
Yeah. And it's probably still playable like on every console I can possibly think of.
Maybe, although in Silent Hill's case, maybe Silent Hill's a bad example because I've heard like the remakes or ports that those got are probably like the worst of all time. But you could maybe track down an original copy somewhere.
Sure.
Throw it on your Odin. I bet that would be fun.
Use my Steam Deck for some emulation like everybody seems to.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We should wrap this thing up.
I think that's it. I'm going to play some Perfect Dark. I've been charging up my N64 controller.
Oh, nice. Oh, I mean, this is your time to shine, DJ. There you go.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at VG, what is it? Twitter.com/VGHangover. That's what it is.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. And you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join us on Discord. We have been chatting about all of these events, many of these events, as they have come through and sort of self-picking what the highlights are between us and the fun folks in our community, sharing trailers and cautious optimism about some of these games. So if you are looking for some curation on your kind of post-E3 world, definitely go to VGHangover.com for a invite and link to our Discord. What else? We would like for you to subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcasting app of choice. We are on all of them. We better be. That was my department. I'm pretty sure I did it.
Oh, that was your department? Okay.
Well, I thought so, wasn't it?
Then we must be.
It's been a long time. Yeah. And, the best thing, the smartest thing you can always do, we say this every time, 600 times now, help us out, maybe telling your friends about the show.
Yes, that really does help us out. Helps us bring in the new listeners. Then they can tell us where all their favorite podcast apps are.
And we can see if I did my job and made sure that we were on it.
Yeah, exactly. So just tell your friends. Yeah. That'll be great. It's also great is RJ Lake, who did our intro and outro music this week.
Yeah.
Just freestyling this outro. If you'd like to hear more of his work, you can go to spellmynamewithabang.bandcamp.com. Download, what is it? El Paso Elsewhere. I always just want to say El Paso, Texas, which is like not the name of a video game. As far as I know.
Is the name of a real place.
Yeah, no, it's a real place. If you like RJ Lake's work in our intro and outro, just go to El Paso, Texas. Ask where RJ Lake is.
Just stop by any place. Just walk into any establishment and say, "Can I see some RJ Lake, please?"
Yeah. How come it doesn't sound like the video game hangover show intro?
Yep.
What's wrong with this place? What's going on? Anyway, once again, spellmynamewithabang.bandcamp.com.
Yep.
Lots of albums there for your own enjoyment. Stuff for you to listen to on your trip to El Paso, Texas.
Correct. Yeah. That would be the perfect soundtrack. I just got the soundtrack to El Paso Elsewhere on vinyl. It is a thing of beauty.
Oh. I
should share photos of that. It opens up and it's got two of the big characters on it. It's a double album thing. It's really, really nice. I love that music. So if you have not listened to the soundtrack in its entirety, definitely go to RJ Lake's Bandcamp, the aforementioned spellmynamewithabang.bandcamp.com, and put it in your ear holes. It's quite good.
Yeah, do that.
It's on Spotify too, if you're into that.
Nice.
We'll be back next week with a stream of Legend of Zelda 4 Swords. So make sure you tune in next Monday night at 10 p.m. for that fun thing on twitch.tv/VGHangover. And until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is TJ Ross.
Thanks so much for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.